So what I wanted to talk about today, and I just got an airdrop from you.
Sorry, that was wrong airdrop.
Oh, okay.
It's for you, but it was a wrong.
Okay,
airdrop.
it's not for right now.
Not for right now, no.
Okay, because we're trying to do a podcast.
Sorry, that's coming later.
There's a lot of people really waiting for us to start a podcast.
I'm sorry.
Maybe like 8 or 9 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, I actually like this element of our podcast too, where I really have no idea what the topic is, and you just spring it on me last second without any preparation. So,
Yes, and so I did a double here today because I'm going to spring it on myself.
I love it. I love it. You're getting to the age where you don't know what you planned yesterday.
Yeah,
It's coming. Like waiting for on the toast to pop up there.
So for those of y'all listening for the first time, this is a very true thing here. We don't plan these shows. It is very important that you know that is the spontaneity, that is the fun of the show, and why we speak from the cuff, if you will. And maybe we say something completely wrong or whatever, but we don't practice anything. We're not in production, trying to put together this show. We just literally turn it on and go, "Hey man, how you been?" And then we get started. And today we do have a topic somewhere. Let me ruffle through all this and see what it is. No, I'm just kidding. Today, what I want to talk about is the mistakes that we make that kill profits. And it's just the little things that we do that kill profits. And I just want to point out
stuff to avoid.
And it's not that we're doing this intentionally. This is just, maybe this is the way we've always done it. This is the way the industry says to do it or whatever. And I want to explain some of these in very short takes, why this is bad. So for instance, in our industry, if you run a shop that has flipping techs and salespeople, you have a very high cost to go to market, right? Because you're paying techs, you're paying salespeople, and you're paying installers, all for one air conditioner, okay? And so to me, that's a mistake. It's too many people with their hand in the pie, okay? And so I'm going to zero in on just the salesperson part of it because we don't use salespeople here, and I want to just explain something that I see through my coaching over and over and over that costs these companies so much money. And it's just a simple math mistake that seems innocent, but I'm going to tell you about the numbers, and we're going to discuss those numbers. So for easy math purposes, for everybody listening to the show, we're going to use numbers usually with 10 or 5s, right? So for instance, if you were to sell an air conditioning system for $10,000, which we know that doesn't happen very often. However, we're just going to use it because you have a couple of dummies running this podcast and we need easy math. But when it comes to math,
to be clear, shouldn't happen very often because that's way too low to sell.
Should never happen at 10,000, right? It just really shouldn't.
Making sure you're clear because there are some people listening thinking, "Well, I'd love to get 10,000."
Yeah.
But if you're listening and that's what you're saying to yourself, listen to every single podcast that we.
Yeah, not with the price of equipment and the price of all the things it takes to run a company. That's ludicrous. All right, but we're just going to use simple math here of $10,000, and you have a comfort advisor. And for simple math, we're going to use 10%. I know some people pay 8. Probably the majority pay 8. When you say that's what I hear, but
maybe average out to 8.
But we're going to use simple math here and use 10. All right. So here's what we're going to do. If your guy goes and your sales price for that equipment is $10,000 and he gets a 10% commission, you owe him $1,000. Okay? Fair. Easy math, right? Everybody gets that. But here's where it goes wrong. Because in my world, if I'm going to employ a salesperson, then I need them to be selling, not discounting. Discounting is not selling. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. You should never discount if you have a salesperson because the rule of thumb is they're there to sell. And if they're worth their grain of salt, they should be able to sell at whatever price you say they need to sell at. Period. Okay. However, we get lazy and we allow discounting. So how do we manage this? So this is what I hear a lot. Again, your numbers may be slightly different, but the math is the same. Okay. So if that guy goes, this salesperson says, I can't sell it at 10,000. I'm going to sell it at 9 to get the deal. and you have a pay scale that says if you discount it, I'm to 9,000, I'm going to pay you 9% instead of 10%. Okay, right? You're going to lower. I see this every day. This is what they do. They lower the commission because he cut the price, right? Which is fair, right? Do you agree with that, Landon? Okay, so
fair.
I mean, well, I'm going to show you that it isn't fair, but it's, yeah, when you do the math, it's incredibly unfair. And this is why companies struggle. Yes, we just discounted the price by $1,000, but how much did we discount the salesman for that $1,000 discount? Can you tell me, Landon?
Let's see.
So he lowered it 9 to 9,000, and so that in turn lowered his percentage to 9%. So he got $810, right?
9,000. Yep.
Okay. He would have gotten $1,000 if he would have sold it at retail. Right? So what's the number there? So
the delta there between 810 and
9,000 times 9%, 810. So you took away $190 from that guy. All right. But he took away $810 from your.
Yeah, 810 because you got to factor in the 190.
That's right. So you lost 810. He lost 190. And I ask you, seriously, is this fair? Tim, what do you think?
I don't think that's fair to the company.
It's not fair to the company whatsoever.
Nope.
It's not fair to the company. So what would you do, Tim, to fix this?
This is what that brings up the question that's in my mind is what's the trigger that would cause a technician to start discounting?
Because they're allowed to. Think about it like this.
So if they're on a set, they come in on a house,
Mhm.
right? They come in on a customer. At what point do they start discounting? Are they trigger ready to go?
They already have it in their heads because when it's allowed, why wouldn't you? All that matters is they get the sale, right?
Yep.
They're not responsible for the loss. They're only responsible for the sale. And that's the problem.
I got you. They want to take their paycheck home.
That's right.
Yep.
So what does it matter if it's 1,000 or 810? It's better than nothing, right? So you immediately are prepared to sell at a discount. You agree with that, Landon?
Yeah, I mean, if you get an objection at the full price point, right?
Mm-hmm.
The easiest thing to do is to reduce the price point. Say, okay, well, 10,000 is too much. What would make you do it today?
Yeah.
Well, 9,000. I don't know if I could do it. Let me call my boss. Go into that little fake negotiation thing, right? Knowing that you can do it. And the easiest thing to do is to come back 3 minutes later and say, you're in luck. If you can do it tomorrow, it's only $9,000. So you take an extra, without having to overcome any objection, you just take an extra 5 minutes and you reduce it by $1,000.
Yep.
Easy way to close a deal.
Yep.
Right. Whereas if they say no, you may have to go back and close them 5 or 6 times, or reiterate and re-go through your sales process. And it may take another hour to convince them to buy at the $10,000 mark, and you may not be able to do it. So the easiest thing in the world is just to go down $1,000.
Just get it over with.
Walk out with your money.
There you go.
And that is what goes through the head of a salesman is allowed a discount.
That's right. So how do you solve for this? I mean, number one, you shouldn't allow a discount, but if you're going to allow discounting, make them share in the loss. Right? I'll let you discount, no problem, but you're going to pay half of it.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about $450 taken out of the 1,000. You think he's going to keep discounting? Heck no.
He'll think twice for sure.
That's right. Why wouldn't he? He's losing $190. Who cares? He got $810 to be there an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's pretty good return. That's smoking good, right? And we're just talking about a stupid $10,000 system that doesn't exist. Typically, they're $20,000.
Yeah.
Now double those numbers, and that's even.
Yeah. Right.
Number gets big.
Right?
Yeah, the number gets huge.
Yeah.
Right. It gets just absolutely huge. So for all you guys out there that are allowing this to happen, this is what's happening to your profits. And you don't have a real salesman if that's just what they do most of the time. They're not being salesmen. They're being order takers. That's all. So this is a tip. for you to realize that the only one losing in this situation is the company. So let's get out of this craziness, which leads me to my next craziness. Spiffs. You ever talked about spiffs on this show before?
That's a curse word on this show, I think.
It is a curse word.
Times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Quite a few times.
So what's crazy about this is we just had this guy wipe out $810, right? This salesperson. But you just gave a spiff to the guy that flipped it to him. And that spiff is sometimes $250, $500.
Probably doesn't vary depending upon what the amount that
Doesn't
was
matter.
sold for,
No,
right?
no, just a fixed number. So you have a guy that you sent out to do a repair, and his job in your business is to flip it at all costs, right? That's the business model I see the most. And you're paying him. He rolled a truck out there. He's getting paid a really good wage, but you're incentivizing him at an astronomical amount to flip this thing. And so let's just say it is $200, whatever. I'll use $200. That's $100 an hour.
Yeah.
Right? He spent 2 hours interfering with this situation. It's $100 an hour that you just increase your labor costs to a technician, to the company, right? In addition to that, you were paying him along the way. Something, an hourly wage or whatever it is you're doing, which typically is what you're doing. You got an hourly wage. They're getting this big $100 an hour spiff. If only $200, it's $100 an hour. So at best, he spent 2 hours in this situation. Okay, crazy. So now we're back to $1,000 loss here.
Yeah. Now you're back to the
because you've
initial
discounted.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and so we never hold that guy that flipped it accountable for the discount. He's only accountable for what, whether it sells or not.
Turning it over. I don't have any control over that. I just turn it over.
That's right. And so the salesperson doesn't have any accountability either because he can just sell it at a discount. He's not selling it for the price that it needs to be sold at so this company can make a living, right?
Yeah.
So we got all these people that you created this culture of what? Me. It's about me. It doesn't matter. I don't control what this salesperson does. I don't.
You know
but I'm getting.
You know what the word SPIF stands for, don't you, Billy?
What does it stand for?
Stupid people incentivizing failure.
Yeah.
What do you think? I just pulled that one out of my.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Dang, look at that guy.
We need to trademark that, huh?
That's fast.
I'm telling you what. I think we should stop the show right now. This is like
right now.
The pinnacle of this show is right this moment.
I'm writing that down.
It's only downhill from here. That is genius. This poor guy's going to pass out. He's never used his brain like that before.
I'm telling you. Well, as you're talking about all this thing, the $10,000, you're losing, going down $1,000 to a $9,000 sale, not hitting, equivalently the salesperson, not hitting equivalently the rest of the people down the chain that you're paying, whether it's the installers or the technician for a spiff or whatever you're doing, right? It's just not equivalent. It's completely misaligned.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is the opposite of everything that you need in your business to be profitable. The only thing that's important for everything in your business to be profitable is alignment, whether it's you're aligning your price point to your budget, to your manpower, to it has to be aligned. If all of these things in your business aren't aligned and there's misalignment, that's a mistake and it kills your profit.
Yep. And you just kind of keep chipping away at the profits the whole way through the system. And it just doesn't have to be like that. I mean, there is a way to do this without losing it. And so the first mistake that we're making is we're basing everything on what? Revenue. And what do we always preach on this show? That the revenue is not where it's at. Remember in the heyday of COVID and everybody's yelling and talking about their revenues and blah, 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 but no one ever talked about their profits, right? Here's a perfect example. They created a bunch of revenue with no money left over. And this is what's happening. This is what happened. Not only that, you just put yourself out of business at that address for 12 years, right? You just sold them a new system. You're not going back. Okay. So there's a lot of bad things that happen there, right? So we're doing this. We're paying spiffs. We're discounting. We're not proportionally sharing in the discount. And we're wondering why everything is not working out for us. And so one of the things that we need to think about, and these are just little tweaks. So we set the culture based around revenue. Okay. If we set it based around revenue, no one cares about the company other than the revenue. They don't care about the company's viability, whether it's going to survive, whether it can prosper, whether it has money to grow, whether it has money to go get new customers so we can keep this going. And so we need to stop incentivizing uncontrolled revenue and move our incentive to margins. Hit your margins and have margin targets and pay off of margins, and then you will be able to be profitable because you can control it. If you set your margins right. I talk to many companies that are $1 million in size, and if their margins are right, they're making a ton of money. Doesn't matter what size your business is. It's how much you have left
can make
over.
plenty of money at almost any size business as long as you got your margins set correctly.
That is correct.
If they're managed correctly, and quite frankly, it's easier, right? It's a better business. Now I know that in the world like private equity and building big things for larger enterprise value and future exits, you need to be scaled more, and sometimes the bigger the better, but it's also got to be very profitable. But if I'm a guy either just starting up or been in business for 10 years and I'm just wanting to maximize my return on my business and this asset, I don't see, having a $3-4 million business today is it's relatively small. It's easy to contain, easy to manage, and tweaking that thing to produce $750, $1 million, over $1 million out of that business is absolutely possible if you have it dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have a $7 million business producing $2 million of profit, or a $15 million business producing $2 million of profit?
Ooh.
Probably a $7 million business producing.
I'll take 7 every day, because the headache of a $15 million company is, twice as much. I wouldn't even say it's twice as much. It's 3 times more.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you get bigger and bigger. And so another mistake I see so often is, well, I'm at 3 million if I could just get to 5, or I'm at 1 million if I could just get to 3, right? We're never really thinking about fixing the margin, the efficiency, simplicity of the business where we are right now. We're always trying to grow the top line without fixing the problem. And if we focus on the problems, which is getting your COGS correct, cost of goods sold, getting all of that fixed and dialed in, you should be able to build a business on your terms. Nothing's worse than begging for money from the bank. What's great is when you walk into the bank and they're handing out their checkbook to you. Like, what can I get you? You need some money? You need help? We help you grow this business. That's what you want to be. Well, it's just a few tweaks in your business, and you go from, hey, I can't make payroll. Will you cover me over the weekend? I'll have this check coming in on Monday to cover it. You go from that to walking into the bank and they're like, how can we help you? What can we get for you? What do you need? You need money for cash flow. You need trucks. All that is just a change in margin. Just fix your margin, and that's that in your bank will flip just like that. It'll flip and become a customer of yours instead of you being a customer of them. And that is really what all small businesses need. And I just see all this desperation going on because we're not focusing on the right thing. And so I don't care if you're 900,000 in sales. You should be making 200 grand. Easy making 200 grand. You didn't get into this for a job. And if you're not making 200 grand at a $900,000 business, you have a job.
Yeah.
If you're not making $1 million on a $5 million business, you have a job. It's just the way it is.
And the job is worse than just going to work for somebody else. the job it's a crappy job
Yeah.
because now you've got the stresses, you got the liabilities, you've got, it's way worse. I'd rather go sell for somebody else and make $300,000-400,000 a year than have my own business, have all that liability, make $200,000 a year. It's just, I wrote a post about this the other day on social media. People start out one way when they go into business. They think, I want to control my schedule. I want to make more money. I got a better way to serve customers. I want to work with people I like. All of these ideals in their head as to what it's going to be when you start a business. And then the reality sets in, and then you have to pivot everything, right? Like people disappoint you. You have massive liability. You maybe make more money in some days. You make way less money in some days. You got to cover payroll. You can't cover, like, your cash flow is inconsistent. You have massive struggles, headaches, pressure, stress. It is not for the faint-hearted to start a business, and especially if you don't have all the tools and knowledge to be doing it profitably from the get-go. It's a terrible decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to dissuade anybody from going out and doing it, because that's what the American dream is, what has made the country. But most people that go out and do it shouldn't do it.
That's why the failure rate's so high, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is not easy. And so it's just learning things like this that could actually save your business. I mean, this little thing that we're talking about today is a game changer. Is a business saver. It's just knowing how to fix your business and not allowing this to happen, these type things, and staying consistent with those margins. And I know maybe we're talking a little too not explaining margins and stuff enough. And a lot of our listeners, maybe you don't know what the margin is that we're talking about. So it's just basically your gross profit. And to simplify it is, if whatever material you buy, whatever labor you pay, whatever ancillary things that you purchase or pay for to do the work, that's your COGS. And then what's left over from what you sell it from to paying for those things is called your gross profit or your margin. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. And so to give you another tip, here's another tip. If you can improve your margin by 1 point, that is 10% to the bottom line. That is how powerful this is. It's so important that we focus on the margins and the gross profit and fix that, because for every point we improve that, we improve our profit by 10%. So let's look at it like this. Let's say that you're making $100,000 and you make a 1% or 1 point improvement in your gross profit. You are now making $110,000 for the same work you just did. It's that simple. And it's that easy. And so when I see companies that come to me and they've got 30%, 35% gross profit, I know that I can easily get them to 50% gross profit within 60, 90 days. So that 15 points is 150% improvement in profit. Is it worth it to figure out how to do this, or to go and talk to someone like me about this? It's so worth it. Is it something that gets taught in best practices? Probably not. But this is what matters. And if you focus just on this, you can fix your business fast, real fast. And so
it's interesting if just taking the basic math from the first example that you did. And let's just say that you built again, way too low, but let's just say for ease of math, it's $10,000 average ticket. You built your budget on a $10,000 average ticket. So, in order to hit your budget throughout the year, that's what your average ticket has to be. You have to have so many installers, so many, employees along the way to hit the budget. Well, if that $10,000 ticket now becomes $9,000, and let's just say you only got one install crew and you're doing 5 days a week, they're installing a system a day, right? That's $5,000 a week that you're not getting in additional revenue. That's coming directly off of your margin. That's coming directly off of your profit. Times 52 weeks, it's $260,000 of profit.
Yes.
or $260,000 of extra margin, $260,000 extra, however you want to look at it.
And we're talking about a business that's doing $1 million or less. The number you're using is $1 million or less.
So it's $250,000 for every install crew.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way.
Yeah. Or if you use a 6-month plan because you're only selling 6 months a year, it's $125,000. Still, I mean, it is what it is.
Those numbers add up significantly. You may not think about it at the time. Oh, you're getting one more sale for $9,000, one more sale for $1,000 off. Great, everybody's high fiving. But if you make that the rule, then that becomes the norm. The amount of money that you're leaving on the table, the amount of money that you have to pay all your other vendors and bills and stuff, it's just astronomical.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Folks, it isn't that hard. Once you understand it and you see it and watch it happen as quickly as it happens, it makes a difference. We work too hard in this industry to keep doing it the same old way. We got to change the way we're doing this. We can't be charging or using spiffs. And we can't be, if you're going to discount, everyone should pay for it, not just the company. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. Or set up your business to where you discount all the time, but never lower your price.
There you go. Yeah. If you're going to discount, you may as well go in with building your plan around the $9,000 and just, that's what my actual base price is. Now I've got it set up here.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. Build your business around it. But don't build your business around $10,000 and charge $9,000.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fail. You're just going to fail.
And let's be honest, I've been guilty of it. I think most people have been. I don't know if you've been guilty of that over time, where you're like, oh, we just need the extra sale. And it just happens. You get in the habit of discounting. I've had businesses that had that challenge. I think 90% of the industry probably has that challenge.
I'd say I would say all of them. Yeah. All of us. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll discount, but when I discount, I don't discount a dime until I hit my budget.
Until you hit your budget, hit your threshold.
Yeah, and then we go back and circle back on all the deals that we didn't close, and we discount them to get them closed because we already hit budget.
That requires a level of understanding of math and margins, though, that I think a lot of businesses lack.
Yeah.
And it's because I've done that as well. I came in like when I was a sales manager early on in my career, I had the flexibility of doing it. I had to hit a certain margin. I had a margin calculator that I would look at every day. I'm like, okay, we got to hit this many margin dollars per day, week, month. And I know that
let's talk about that for a second. I mean, hopefully I don't get too far in the weeds with everybody, but think about this for a second. First of all, you need to know what your break even is.
Yep.
Right. We can teach you how to do that. But once you know your break even, all right. And let's say you make a 50% gross margin on your equipment or anything you do. Okay. You hit your break even, meaning you made a profit and you paid all your bills for the month. And let's say that happens on the 25th of the month. Okay. Every month, everything goes according to plan. Around the 25th of the month, you hit your budget. You hit your break even. Okay. So now you have your systems or whatever you're selling that you're still selling at book. And then you have the systems that you missed that maybe you didn't sell, or maybe you get one in, they want a discount to get it across the board. So you discount your product to a 50% gross margin. Let's say you're at a 55 or whatever you're at, and you discount to a 50. Once you're at budget and once you have hit your break even and you sell a system for $10,000, okay, at a 50 gross margin, you get to keep $5,000 because you've already covered your cost. You still capture your COGS cost at the top, $5,000, but then your overhead costs are completely paid for. So now that $5,000 does what? What happens to that $5,000?
Straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom, because you've already covered all your expenses. So if you don't discount to get to your break even, you can discount like a madman to finish out the month if that's what you need to do, and increase your profits exponentially. But you got to
There's got to be somebody making that call that understands where you're at, break even wise, margin wise for the month. Because if you just allow your salespeople, your field people to just discount arbitrarily, they're going to just start doing that as a way of.
And if you do it all through the month, you never get to the break even.
Yeah.
So get there first and then discount if that's what you need to do, because you're going to keep half the money at that point. And that's important. But now you're adding money at a rate that you haven't all month. Even though you didn't discount all month, you're still not adding at the rate that you do once you hit break even. So, boys and girls, what should you figure out as soon as you get off of this podcast? Your break even. Right. And so these are not rocket science things. These are just little tidbits that we just need to tweak in our businesses to make a big difference. So it's not like we come up with some big sophisticated idea that we're trying to share with the world. We're just using basic math principles.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we look at sales numbers and we don't pay attention to percentages and ratios and things that other parts of math that you should pay attention to. So another example, just real quickly. If you were to hire a tech, and let's say you pay them, you want to pay them 10% commission, and you'll take off 15% every time you use an installer, right? I see this a lot too. Let's just say 20% to be easy math here. Let's say that you want to hire a guy and you pay him 10% commission, but whenever they use a subcontractor or an installer, you want to charge 20% to the top line. So in other words, he sells a $10,000 job. We use a subcontractor to do the work, whatever that reasoning was. If your own installers are not included as subcontractors, that's included in the price. But you got to use an outside service or whatever, and then a subcontractor. So that subcontractor, you take out that subcontractor cost. So in other words, if you pay a guy 10% on a $10,000 job, he gets $1,000. But if there's a subcontractor involved, now you're paying him 10% on $8,000 because you reduced it by $2,000, right? You follow me, Landon?
Yep.
Okay. Is that the same as just paying him 8%? I mean,
you're paying him 8%. Yeah.
It's not. Sounds like it is.
So
But
you're telling me if you pay him $800 on 10,000?
Yeah.
That's 8%.
Understood. However, that's for every call instead of an install where you use a subcontractor.
Gotcha. Okay, I see where you're going.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's an easy mistake. Right? It's a very easy mistake that gets made that costs money.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, most people don't do this. I mean, the subcontractor thing, we haven't really talked much about that on the show. But I believe there's a great use of some people are so anti-subcontractor and some people live, off subcontractors. I believe that the subcontract thing is very viable. There's things like in plumbing, you may not have the lining equipment or something, you just have to sub it out. But I've had instances where I'm growing an air conditioning company and growing the company fast and we're selling more than the capacity that we have, right? So you start inking up the prices and inking up your margins to take advantage of that, right? But it's like, man, I can't get all the jobs and I'm going to start losing jobs. So, or maybe I may not have enough jobs to facilitate, consistent enough jobs to facilitate extra jobs to facilitate another crew. So I got to use a subcontractor temporarily. So there's a definite place for them. But there's quality issues that you have to take into consideration, right? So you have to make sure that you're prepared to address any quality issues up front and, maybe have somebody assigned to that crew, right? There's image issues and there's pricing issues. So you got to have pre-negotiated price points for every job that you might want to sub out. So you know what it is, so you can build it into your margin and know whether or not you can take the job. Then you got to have a quality control process. I mean, the subcontractor, it's a pretty detailed thing if you want to do it correctly, but most people just say, oh, I need a sub for that. I sold this job. What's it going to cost me? And then I get a bill and then I got to pay it. Then I got to argue. It becomes kind of a nightmare for people. But if you do subcontractors right, you establish a PO process, you get it all, done correctly, it can be a very big asset to the business.
It can. Way to contribute. Man, you're doing good.
There you go. I got to throw something in there once in a while instead of your math.
Oh no, math.
I love how Billy likes to turn every podcast into math. And I'm like, do we have a screen that we can put up a calculator on or something? So everybody can
I was
drawing crayon trying to figure it out.
I was thinking the same thing. I need a board to write on here. Some chalk.
Get Billy a whiteboard or something behind you.
No, I've got them all over this place. You should sit in one of those sessions.
We need to put up the board and go, let's go to the board on that.
Yeah.
Let's go to the board.
Let's go to the
board on that.
Yeah, that's what we'll add to our shows there. Well, awesome. I apologize if you didn't completely follow me today. I hope that I made it as simple as possible. I used the reason, another reason why I decided to pick Landon. I figured if he could figure it out, anybody else could.
Yeah, if I can follow along, no one else.
Yeah, so that's really why I made that choice. He's a great host for that.
It's probably good to get a pen and pencil out too, and just do the math right there.
Yeah. Just play back this show and just continue to write it down until you get it.
Yep.
There you go. Well,
and I got all my fingers and toes that I'm using too.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking everybody back to math class.
Well, we got that new math thing we've got to counteract. So yeah, it's good.
Hey, I say that, but business is math, right?
Yep.
Business is all math. At the end of the day, whether you're talking budgeting, you're planning, you're looking at your margins, evaluating KPIs, looking at people's, your payroll targets, all the stuff is math.
Yep.
And if you're not good at math, you got to get good at math if you want to run a profitable business.
You need to know two things when you run a business: math and how to solve problems. That's pretty much all you need.
That's it.
And if you can do those two, you can be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be an idiot like me and be successful. It's just, I know those two things.
And then be able to trust the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I know. I don't know anything. I don't know the first thing about fixing an air conditioner. Sorry. I just don't. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not the important part.
Mm-mm.
Then further, I think all your team has to be good at math, has to understand it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. You got to relay the math to your team.
If they don't understand the math behind it, you can't have the alignment that we're talking about.
That's right.
If they don't understand the math behind it, they don't understand why they can't discount, or they have to take a commission hit, or they, we can't do that job, or, what it costs when somebody makes a mistake, or they just don't understand it. You just become, you're yelling at somebody because the numbers aren't working well, and they may be trying and they just don't understand it. So it is incumbent upon you as a leader of the business to make sure that everybody understands all elements of your budget, all elements of your plan, and understand how the math works. Otherwise, you're just going to be caught in a drama fest of, well, should I pay this guy more? This guy's threatening to quit. It just becomes disastrous.
That's how you solve that problem too.
Too.
Everybody knows the math. I mean, everybody that works for you thinks you're rich. They just think that you keep all the money. They don't know the math. They think you bring in $1,000, you get to keep 1,000. You pay them their $20 an hour. I'm just saying $20 an hour, $40 an hour, and they think you keep the rest. That's it. That's how they think. So they all think you're rich already. So the best way to prove to them that you're not is show them
the math.
Show them the math.
Which I hate to prolong this any longer, but it brings up the question: do people get into business with the illusion of rich? And not about not about the business. It's about the business. It's about doing the business correctly. So they go into it thinking, that guy's rich. I want to be rich.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so do you think that attributes to the fail rate?
I do. Because they just don't know the cost of it. They just really don't. And for whatever reason, it becomes us against them if you don't have the culture set and you're not transparent.
Yeah.
Because it's us. I'm working my butt off. He's sitting in that office in the air conditioning.
Yeah.
That's what's thought. And so include them in the math.
Yeah.
Show them what it takes to run a business. Don't be scared to open your books up and explain it to them. And man, when you do, the lights come on and they're like, oh, I get it. And then the positivity and the morale, everything just goes up.
But so, I think it's just a matter of them not knowing, not seeing it in front of them.
Yeah.
Because if they
And
did, it's like,
I'm not scared to show them
Yeah.
when we make a lot of money.
yeah,
I'm not scared to show them at all because they know that I'm going to.
Happy.
Yeah.
That's opportunity for everybody. Yep.
it's going
They
to
know that their bonus is going to be
it's gonna
big
be a
because
good Christmas.
they're going to get a percentage of that profit.
Yeah,
Right? They know that.
yeah,
So how do you make that bigger?
yeah.
So we get more. So
And I mean, that's, you're talking about mistakes in
education.
business. That is the biggest mistake, because if people don't understand the money flow of the business, if the technicians don't understand that, the managers don't understand it, they think, there's some weird golden pot out there somewhere. They think that somebody else is getting rich. It builds animosity. They think that they can start negotiating for more money. Like your mind starts playing weird tricks on you when you don't understand the math. When there's not something that's cut and dry, now you're arguing, you're trying to convince, you're trying to sell people on why they should be doing what they should be doing, instead of saying, hey, here's the math equation. This is your part of the math equation. You got to do this. This is the call center's part of the math equation. They got to do this. And if they, like, when you can just show them the math, you're doing what it is the biggest profit killer in business: drama. You're avoiding drama.
That's right.
Because drama.
Just say, see that zero? That's you.
That's you.
That's
right
how you
there.
do it.
You're a zero.
See this negative profit number right here from the financials. That
That's
is
you.
Here's your T-shirt.
Yeah.
0.
Zero. Less than.
Or, the other thing, there's also hidden discounts, by the way. We didn't talk about that. There's hidden discounts. There's ways of, that some of these guys, instead of discounting, they'll throw in extra, or they'll throw in UV lights, or they'll change the scope of work. And like there's ways that beyond just like, hey, it's not just 10,000 now going to 9,000. It's like, well, if you could do that, I'll throw in this, I'll throw in that. Or, hey, telling the install crew to do X, Y, Z while they're there. It's not part of the scope of work, but needs to get this taken care of. Or, hey, didn't tell you we could do this, but it's 60 months, 0% financing that'll cost the company 15%. All the profit goes away. Just buy it today.
I can see it now. I bet this happened and wherever you worked. They come in and they got this plaque. Landon, your company just won the sales award for their most purifiers. And you're like,
Yep.
I'm like, I haven't ordered. I don't recall selling any.
Yeah.
Oh, you bought the most though.
And they come in and they'll try and spiff. I hate some people love it. I don't like it. I hate when the vendors come in and they're doing some training on whatever products, and then they're promoting like, hey, if whoever sells the most of these this month will get $100 gift card to this, or spiff you that, or like the restoration companies try and give you side spiffs to all your plumbers that are trying to flip leads over to them. I hate that, because what it does is it may not be bad on its surface, sound bad on the surface, because somebody else is paying you an extra spiff for taking care of your employees, but it's taking away the focus of what is the client actually needs, and putting or what the business should actually be selling, and saying, well, I know that I can get an extra spiff or some extra cash or whatever on the side doing this, so I'm going to focus my efforts on that instead of doing what the client, the best interest of the client, or what the best interest of the company.
Right.
So I hate that.
So many things that could be cleaned up that would make a big difference. I think that's the moral of this show today. And I want to thank everybody for hanging in there. We had a lot of silliness today, so hopefully that made it fun for you. But thank you for listening. We appreciate y'all. This has been a blast. We'll see you again next week.
See you guys.
No BS with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit Sera.tech today. That's Sera, SERA.tech today.